The use of pagers to target Hezbollah has sparked significant debate. On the one side, there's people who are saying this is an amazing piece of hybrid warcraft, which I think it is. On the other hand, people also saying this is a terrorist tool, which I also think it is. And the former CIA director, Leon Panetta, has now labeled these operations as a form of terrorism, emphasizing the novelty and the danger of such tactics. I think also the example of such tactics. I entirely agree with him. I think this was a very dangerous and a foolish attack. Nevertheless, allowing for the judgment that it might have been a clever attack. I don't think anybody would doubt that it was clever. But whether it was wise is another matter. The perspective of Leon Panetta, I think, is interesting. It draws attention to the ethical and legal ramifications of integrating explosives in everyday technology, potentially setting a precedent for future conflicts and for future terrorism. And this was, I made a post about this, a good few days ago now. And various people have left comments saying that I'm wrong. I'm somewhat cheered by Panetta's observation, but also worried by that because, it sort of confirms my worries. It confirms my doubts in the first place. Panetta's comments highlight a broader concern about the implications of such tactics in warfare, particularly how they blur the lines between conventional military operations and acts of terror. And he warned that this approach could escalate conflicts and complicate international norms around the use of force. And his reluctance to outrightly condemn Israel suggests the complexity of balancing national security interests with international humanitarian standards. I'm not bound by the same constraints. I've already condemned Netanyahu very clearly. And I think there's a big distinction to be made between the condemnation of the current government of Israel and Iran's position that Israel should not exist. I think Israel should exist. I just think it should have a significantly better government that wouldn't have allowed Hamas to take control and to and infiltrate Israel literally about a year ago now, on October the 7th last year. That failure in security is also Netanyahu's. And he spent a year trying to hide behind the military in order to stay in his job, in order to avoid the electoral punishment by the people of Israel, in order to avoid being dragged into the international criminal courts for his contempt of basic rules of warfare, rules of international behavior. I think he and his cabinet have behaved appallingly. And Chris Cuomo's critique of the Republican Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's condemnation of Israel further underscores the polarized views on this issue. Ocasio-Cortez highlighted civilian casualties, questioning the proportionality and the legality of the strikes under international law. And Cuomo, defending Israel's actions, argued that targeting Hezbollah, a group designated as a terrorist organization by many countries, was justified, dismissing the comparison to US actions against Al-Qaeda. This exchange reflects the ongoing tension between addressing the immediate threat posed by non-state actors and adhering to international legal and ethical standards. And Panetta's assertion that the use of such tactics might set a dangerous precedent for further future conflicts resonates with broader concerns about the evolving nature of warfare and the potential for technology to be weaponized in unprecedented ways. We've seen in the Ukraine-Russian conflict the weaponization of drones in a rather brilliant way, which I think is on the correct side of history. The weaponization of pagers and walkie-talkies is, I think, not on the correct side of history. But both give an example of hybrid warfare to terrorist groups, and both are within their reach. And that is it's letting the cat out of the bag. It's opening Pandora's box. It's letting the genie out of the lamp. And you can't stuff these things back in again, as Pandora found, as Aladdin found. And in the context of the escalating violence between Israel and Hezbollah, this incident raises critical questions about the conduct of modern warfare and the protection of civilian lives, the role of international law in regulating state behavior, and as Panetta suggested, the global dialogue on these issues is something that must be that must be considered with speed in order to prevent further destabilization and to establish clearer norms for the use of such technologies in conflict. But I think even legislating in an international way about whether or not this is a legitimate approach to warfare will not remove the danger that has now been created by Israel, and that will be followed. And the example that it sets, is that this is a possible approach, and that these things can be done large scale. The example is terrifying.